So, do you need help getting around Volusia in an official 360 race on iRacing? If so, then you're going to want to sit tight, because in this video I'm going to show you not only how to qualify on this track, but I'm going to show you how to run the feature, and I'm going to be even showing you the setups I use to do both. So, all of that and more right after this. What's up, everybody? Thomas Brandon here, and welcome to another School of Sim Racing video. First of all, thank you very much for joining me, and if this is your first time watching one of my videos, please do me a favor. If at the end of this video you like it, hit that like button, or jump on it, smash it, kick it, whatever it is that you do, but hit it, engage it, something that shows me you like it, please. And also leave a comment down below if this helps you. I can't tell you how much I enjoy the comments I get from people saying, you know, hey Tommy, I tried your setup and I won my first race. I mean, things like that. Like, I really do love those things. Like, I absolutely love them, and I get them all times of the day and night. It's awesome. So please, if this stuff helps you, let me know, because I swear nothing makes me happier than finding out this stuff actually helps you. And then finally, make sure you subscribe, so that way you get notified when I put out any more of these videos, because we've got a ton of stuff coming in the very near future. School of Sim Racing, as big as it's gotten in the last 6 weeks, we've got a ton more coming, an absolute ton. I've got leagues, big money races, consistent live streaming, like all kinds of stuff. So if you want to check that out, if you want to be a part of it, basically if you want to join, in my opinion, what is probably the best iRacing community in the online that there is, then you're going to want to make sure that you're subscribed. All right. So, enough of that stuff. Let's dive into the fun stuff, all right, which is Volusia. Now, Volusia is a pretty tricky track because of the fact it's a giant D, okay? And it can get really wide, especially if you do, not so much in the official races, but if you do like a league race here, it can get really wide. Once this track slicks off, when it gets like 80, 90, 100%, I mean, it's basically wall to wall. And it's a super wide track. And then the backstretch is one gigantic wide sweeping turn. And so because of this, when you get to the feature later on, which we'll cover here in just a few minutes, you get this slick groove that goes right down the middle, and it curves all the way through, and there's no avoiding it. You have to go through it. And because of this, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that you can do it, so you don't have to worry about, getting sideways and all out of whack every time you try to go into turn 3. Now, first things first is we got to cover qualifying, all right? Now, when it comes to qualifying, this is a pretty, a general rule of thumb for most qualifying and most tracks. You want to be running a lot of stagger. Now, we're going to be running 13 inches here. The reason that I don't run 14 inches at Volusia is because turn 2 is so wide sweeping. For me, 14, it makes the car rotate a little too much coming out of that corner. And so I like it at 13. That helps me just kind of drift out and maintain my momentum. Tire pressures are basically what I always run. I got 12, 11, 10, and 8, okay? Now, chassis. If you've watched my other setup videos on these wing sprint cars, you're going to notice a lot of changes. Since I've done those videos, and since, even just in the last couple of weeks when I gave everybody all of my winged sprint car setups for the 360s and the 410s, a lot has changed with my setups. Now, one of the things that I had thought for quite a while was basically like, look, you've got to do this, there's certain things that you have to do in order for these cars to be fast. And that's true, but it's also not true. And what I mean by that is I used to think you had to have the front end jacked all the way up. Had to. That's not really the case. You don't. Then I thought, well, no, you have to have the left front jacked all the way up. Actually, you don't. The main thing is that from all the testing that I've done is that what you want to make sure that you've got particularly the left front higher than the right rear. And I've noticed on some of the setups that I've gone through and looked at, whether they be like iRacing setups or setups from other places, like you can get them online, like free places you can get them online. Ones that seem really slow are when the front is when the ride heights of the car in the rear, particularly the right rear, is higher than the left front. So that's what I've noticed when the car seems to not be very fast. It seems like the tires are not getting the grip that they should be getting. And these cars, the drive off the right rear is critical, because even if you're not running a lot of crossweight, the amount of dynamic weight that you are getting on the left rear because of that wing, right? I call it the barn door that you got up there. Because of that, the amount of weight that is being put on that left rear is, even if you're only running like 43% of crossweight, preload or static crossweight, it's still a lot in terms of dynamic weight. So we want to make sure that we're getting that right rear hooked up, because that's really what's going to give us our drive, our bite off those corners, okay? So here at Volusia, I've got a 10 1/4 in the right front. I've got thousands everywhere else, okay? In terms of the torsion bar stops, I got 1 1/4 turns on the right front, 1 1/2 turns on the left front. On the right rear, I have it -2 1/2, and on the left rear, I have it -2 1/4. The key here is the rear ride heights. So for the 360s, I've discovered, for me, right, if you've been running 14 1/2 on the right rear and 13 on the left rear, and you're like, dude, that works great for me, keep doing it, okay? But for me, I've discovered that on the 360s, I actually like my ride heights to be a 1/2 inch lower than I was doing it before. I like 14 on the right rear and 12 1/2 on the left rear. That seems to work better for me. Now, because of this, I've had to increase on a lot of the setups my left rear packer to 2 inches. Now, I don't do it on Volusia. The main reason I don't do it on Volusia is because I don't really use the brakes here. On tracks, I use the brakes, particularly like, Fairbury, for example, where I'm using a lot of trail braking. I'm sucking down that suspension. I'm trying to keep that thing from bottoming out as much as possible, so I've got that thicker packer. But here at Volusia, 1 1/2, I'm not really touching the brake, so we'll just let it go at 1 1/2, okay? Now my shocks, basically what I'm almost always running in terms of a base setup, 6.3 on the right front, 5.4 on the left front. I've got a 6.5 on the right rear. That's a little bit different. I've got more bump than rebound. And then I've got 4.8 on the left rear, okay? So that's what we're running. Oh, and then the wing. Nose wing as flat as you can get it, always. And then the top wing, I've got it as flat as it'll go and all the way forward. If this is your first time watching a video and you're like, oh man, well, Tommy, I've never thought about running the wing forward. That's why you probably aren't doing very well in the 360s. If you're not doing very well in the 360s and you've been running your wing back, especially like those iracing setups where it's at like, -10, that thing slows you down a ton, an absolute ton, especially when the track is tacky. When the track gets slick, you can put some wing in it. It's okay, because I don't care how fast your car is going, right? If you can't hook it up, it makes no difference. But when the track is fresh and you're qualifying, you want that wing flat and forward. All right? So now that we got that out the way, let's hit the track. Now, if you go to the results at this track, from the official races over the last few days, you'll notice that qualifying times in terms of fast times, right? So those who are setting the fast time, sitting on the pole, you're going to find it somewhere between like the high 13.6s to like mid 13.8s. You might find something higher than a 13.8, but understand the track was probably really slick in qualifying. Typically, the track will be somewhere between 7 and 15%, right? That's what I've been noticing for qualifying as of late. Somewhere around 7 to 15%, not just Volusia, that's like at all tracks. Now, when the race is at night, you'll notice that the track doesn't slick off as fast as it does when the race is in the afternoon, right? When it's in the afternoon at certain places and it's really hot, these tracks slick off like crazy. Eldora is a great example of that, right? Afternoon race, the thing was slick by, the second heat race. You had a track that looked like the blacktop. So here we're racing at night. So the track is not going to slick off as fast as it normally does, but Volusia still does get slick. Doesn't have much grip to begin with, okay? So we want to make sure that we're going to be nice and smooth, get a nice, clean qualifying lap in so we don't end up in the back, bouncing off everybody in the feature, all right? So let's do this. Now we've only got 3 gallons of fuel, okay? And you can actually go with 2 if you want. I would just make sure that you're like really easy and you don't burn fuel going down the backstretch here. since you're not actually qualifying. And now let's get going. Now, my first qualifying lap, when I'm qualifying in official races, I usually kind of run one just kind of through the middle. I try to just get a good lap laid down without being too aggressive. I don't want to go out and smack the wall and not have a lap. But on my second lap, now I'm going to actually start pushing it. So we want to get this thing down to the bottom, and we want to keep it nice and straight out of the corner. You can see I'm barely turning the wheel. And then we want to get this thing nice and straight going in. And as you can see, we want to maintain an angle.
You've got about 2 laps of fuel.
When we come out of turn 4, that's going to make it to where we're gonna cut that corner without scrubbing speed. That's really the key. You want to enter high and exit low on 3 and 4, because that corner, that wall will come up on you really quick. Oh, I just entered high there. Okay, that wall will come up really quick on you, and you're going to smack right into that wall if you don't take the right angle. So you want to make sure that you take the right angle and keep that car nice and straight. All right, that is really the key to those fast qualifying laps. Now, let's see what we did here. So 13.8, 13.8, 13.8, 13.8, right? And like I said, that would put us towards the top of most splits. I mean, the top splits. We would be qualified probably somewhere in the top 5, maybe 10, right? Depending on who's in the race and depending on the weather. There's a lot of variables, right? If it was a fast track, we might be having, maybe a 13.7. If it's a slow track, it might be like a 14. It's just going to depend. But it's a fast lap. I've gotten fast time before. With my setups, doing that exact same line. So it works. It absolutely works, okay? So now that we got qualifying done, now we got to get ready for the race. So let's head over and do that. All right, so now it's time for the heat race, okay? Now, I put the track at 25%. Understand that for your heat race, it's going to be anywhere between 15 and 20% to maybe even like 30 to 35%, right? But it's going to be somewhere in this range. That's why I picked 25, kind of in the middle, okay? Now, when you are adjusting for the heat race, the key is to make incremental adjustments. One of the main things that you got to know about these setups, and this is true in real life too with sprint cars, right? With all race cars, the 80-20 rule applies for everything, in every aspect of life. With race cars, 20% of your adjustments are going to give you 80% of your results. And so when I am trying to stay ahead of the track, the stuff that I'm doing now is the same that I was doing in the video that I put out months ago. All right? Take a 1/2 inch of stagger out, right? Move this right rear in a little bit. Move that left rear out a little bit. Okay? And then, I'll drop my right rear shock. I'm going to add some fuel. All right, maybe 6 gallons because we're running 8 laps. The gear that I usually run for the heat race is like a 555 or a 549. And then I'm going to readjust my ride height. And that's it. Like, I'm ready for the heat race. And what I do, like 4 adjustments, and they were really minor, right? You got stagger, you got wheel spacing, and, I did the shock. Right? Voila, like that's it. And now you're set for the heat race. I mean, it's really, really simple. So let's head out here onto the track. Now, one thing that kind of bugs me about the when you're doing test sessions is that the auto-generated tracks never really represent what you see during a real race. So as you can see right now, we've got the slick going right through the middle here, and that's kind of what we would see. A lot of people don't run the absolute bottom at Volusia. Volusia is one of the tracks where the auto-generated actually does a decent job, but on some tracks it's horrible. It's just completely wrong. So keep that in mind, all right, if you're going to be doing testing here. Now, when you're going to be running the heat race here, really, you can be doing 2 lines. A lot of people will always just gravitate to the top, and that's because it's easier. You're just trying to keep it straight. But the bottom can still be fast, all right? So let's run a few laps here. The main thing that you want to make sure that you're doing is you're keeping the car straight, right? You can see where that slick is right there. When you catch that, if you're following that angle around, let me show you again. If you're following this angle around, what's going to happen is that's going to lead you up to the wall. See where that slick is? And you're going to catch that berm. So what I like to do is once that slick starts showing itself, what I like to do is this. I'm going to actually go straight, and I'm going to actually roll out of the throttle just a tiny, tiny bit and go straight through it. I do the same thing here. See how I did that? Roll out, go right through it. And I mean, I'm rolling out like this much. It's a tiny, tiny bit. Roll out, get back in it. Get the car set and get back in it. Because if you try to follow that around, like I said, it can get really tricky, especially when you get to the feature. It can get really hard. Now, running the bottom here, you're going to have to backpedal a little bit. And you really want to make sure that you're going in high and coming out low. So you can stay in that. And then here, you're going to want to actually kind of do a little diamond and go off like that. Okay? Oh, got too high there. So, that's pretty much what you're going to be looking for in terms of the heat race, right? It's pretty simple. The track is still fairly fast. Everyone's going to be, wide open. It's really just a matter of trying to be smooth and not make a mistake, right? Like when it comes to the heat races, that's really what it's about. Just be smooth and don't make any mistakes. Now, where you really show yourself is in the feature, and that's what we're going to get to next. So let's take a look at that. All right, so now it's time for the feature. And you can see here, if I go to track info, 50%, right? So we're right about where the feature would be, right? It's usually somewhere around 50% on the track state. Now, for our feature setup, what we're going to do is we're going to bring this down to 12. Okay? Going to leave our gear. We got to get fuel in it, right? Now, a lot of times people don't know how much fuel to use. They're always like, hey, how much fuel do I use? If you go to iracing setups, they show you. They show you how much fuel to use, right? So you do that. Just do that. It's really simple, okay? Now, I'm going to bring my... Let's just bring the base setup up. Bring my base setup here, because I'm going to actually have some changes that I'm going to make to this thing. So first of all, I'm going to take a lot of the cross weight out. I'm going to leave that left front up at 2 turns. I'm going to drop this one down to 1 turn. Okay, and I've got a 1050 bar in the right front and a 10 1/4 in the left front. Okay, so going to decrease my cross weight some. Really want to make sure I'm driving off that right rear. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put a 5.6 on this right rear shock. I'm going to bring this into 17. Move that left rear out to 14. Right, you can see for my gear, I've got a 542. For that, we could actually go with 18 gallons of fuel because I'm going to be turning a lot less RPMs. Stagger, I want 12 inches. Okay, now I need to reset my ride heights. All right, so I want to be at 1250 and 14. And right there. We're good. Also make my left rear shock 4.7. All right. And we're set. We're now ready for the feature. Now, one thing that I recommend to people is especially when they're running my setups, because my setups always start with the wing all the way forward. All the way forward, always forward, all the way forward, is move it back 1 or 2 clicks. Okay? When you have all that fuel, even on a heavy track, the car's going to feel loose because you're going to have all that fuel sloshing around in the back. Then you hit the slick, it's going to feel out of control. Move the wing back a notch or 2. It's okay. It's all right. It's not going to crush you. Okay? It's better to be smooth and connected to the track than sliding all over the place wide open. For some reason, people think that they just need to just foot down, wide open, on the rail, gone. And that's not what you do. That's how you wreck. That's not how you win, okay? Go watch the video that I did at Lima Land. It was a live stream video I did. I wrecked my car. I still won the race. I was literally turning the car using my brake the second half of the race, and I had my wing back. Now, Lima Land is not Volusia. It's a smaller track, but nevertheless, you'll still be fast, okay? So move the wing back a couple notches. It's all right. It's better to survive the first couple laps than to wear yourself out and take someone else out in the process. You don't want to do that, okay? So let's turn a few laps here up. Now, like I said, the car's going to feel super loose with all that fuel. And so you really want to take it easy when you're going into these corners here. All right? And see how that slicks right there? If you have to let off a little bit coming out, that's okay. It's all right. It's, like I said, it's much better to survive than it is to wreck. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind is that that slick gets really bumpy there. Doing that line that I showed you, which is basically just going straight across it. See how I actually caught it right there? Caught it there again. So you want to make sure that you are really careful when you're crossing that, because not only is it slick, but it's like a bump. It's like it dips down and there's like a berm there. Now, another thing that you want to look out for, like I said, is when you're running this track, you want to make sure that you're getting the right angle coming out of turn 4. And this can be really tricky because the way that that corner snaps around, if you're having to do that, if you catch that slick, what's going to happen is you're going to get sideways and wreck, or you're going to tag the wall with your tail tank. So you want to make sure that you're being nice and easy with it, right? Same thing, like I just did that right there, smacked it with my tail tank. So you want to make sure that you're being nice and easy. Just be smooth. And after you run a few laps and you've got a feel for the car and you're like, okay, I can get the wing forward, I can handle this, then move it forward a notch. Right? Don't hit the wall like I did, but move it forward a notch. It's okay. Right? You don't have to go all the way forward, but move it forward a notch if you think you can handle it. Run a few more laps and see how it feels. Remember, you got 30 laps in these races. You don't need to win it on lap 1. Now, if you're going to run the bottom, you got to really make sure that you get this thing rotated and that you're nice and smooth. And you can do this strictly with the throttle, or you can also use some trail brake, like I just did there. Okay? Both ways are acceptable. Both ways are fast. It's not right or wrong. It's just a matter of what makes you more comfortable. Okay? And then finally, if you're going to try to pass people here, really your best bet in terms of a slide job is going is turns 1 and 2 coming out of turn 2. But instead of actually sliding them, what you can do is you can undercut them, kind of diamond the corner off and get up in front of them going into the next corner like that. Or you can slide them like regular. Just make sure that if you do that, you do it at the right angle, because if you have the wrong angle, that's what happens. Okay? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't try to slide on that one. I try to undercut coming out of that corner. You can do a slider in 3 and 4 as well, because you've got that big sweeping angle. The thing that you got to really be wary of, though, is if you do that, you got to make sure that you get the right angle like that. If not, the way that wall, the way that 4 pinches off, you're going to smack that wall. Okay? So just be careful. Before you go out trying sliders in a real race, I would recommend testing it. All right? But that's going to do it. All right? That's our little breakdown of Volusia. Simple, easy, but effective. Do those things, right? Go out, do some testing, get nice and smooth, get a good feel for it, and go out and run a race. You're going to see some good results, okay? So that'll do it. Thank you very much for joining me. Now, really quick before we go, like I said, if you like this, please do me a favor, hit that like button. Also, make sure to subscribe. All right, we've got over 1,000 subscribers right now, which is absolutely awesome. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate all of you subscribing. I absolutely just, I really cannot believe how much this has blown up. It makes me want to do just more and more for you. It really, really does. I want to get this so big that, I want to get this so big that we can influence what we want to influence in iRacing. Like, that's what I want to do. All right. In order to do that, we got to keep growing these numbers. So please hit that subscribe button, like the video, and then comment down below. If this helped you in any way, let me know. All right, please let me know. And if you want to see any other tracks or anything like that, leave a comment down below letting me know about that. And then finally, I know we talked about sprint cars in this video, but if you have been struggling with late models or you want to learn how to drive dirt late models, head over to School of Sim Racing. Go to Facebook and search School of Sim Racing private group, and then join that group. We've got a dirt late model 3-week masterclass that is going to be starting up this next Monday. I'm going to be doing a 3-week special training where I'll be putting out videos throughout the week, and then we'll be doing a live session like 2 times a week where we'll actually get together. I cover any questions that you have. We do a big open practice, and then we do a race with everybody. All right, we're going to be doing limiteds, pros, and super late models, and I'm going to actually be giving you my setups for those cars. So if that sounds like something you want to be a part of, like I said, head over to the School of Sim Racing Facebook group, ask to join, and once you get in, make sure you join our Discord server because that's where a lot of the other content gets posted. But that'll do it. Thank you very much once again. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, good luck, good racing, take care, see you in the next video, and until then, have a good one.